So I'm one of the co-editors of the Black Girl Magic Anthology, Volume 2 from the BreakBeat Poets. Make some noise for that, for them believing in these fly black girls, co-edited by Idrissa Simmons and Jamila Woods. One is, Jamila lives in Chicago, Idrissa lives in California. So we're trying to gather the troops as much as possible and do these events everywhere because, you know, black girls be everywhere. I know we are in a bookstore, so folks think you gotta be quiet. That is not what this is, okay? I need you to look to your neighbor, say, you look nice today. I need you to respond. I know, right? I know. I did that. I put it together. I was there when it happened. I am magic because this is magic, right? Good. So I just want you to know who you're sitting next to because the way this event is going to go, each reader will come up and share 7 minutes worth of poem, prose, short story, essay, whatever they want. We wanted to make sure that we spread the genre out, right? It just wasn't just poems. We got raps, we got prayers, and so whatever the authors are going to come up and share, we're excited to hear that. So all that we ask is that you put your phone on vibrate or silent, and that you be ready to have fun, right? So if you hear anything you like today, you could say ooh, I, nice. What? Word? And my favorite is wow. Just do that. You feel so good, they feel good, you feel good, it's great. So I would like to share a poem from an author that is not here, a poet that is not able to be here, just to keep, you know, all of the women voices in the space. And you'll hear from the readers in this order: Rachelle Parker, Candice Iloh, Nena Angela Mercer, Whitney Greenaway, and Aracelis Girmay. Is that right? Amen. I was practicing back. Roll my tongue. Okay, got it. We ain't gonna be a lazy Americans today, honey. The cabinet got you fucked up, I know. I don't know, but they're doing such a good job. Okay, I'm gonna share a poem called A Brief History of Coconut Oil. Only because I just bought a whole big ass jar for $4, and I was like, my life is about to be blessed all summer. I think this is a great way to open it up. By Crystal Valentine. You want to know what God I pray to? I pray to whatever God that could best moisten the coil of my hair. There is a myth that states brown women have fountains levitating above our skulls. We walk with our palms stretched out, gold and humming, ready to lead a choked desert to salvation. All of our hair brittle and dyed when the state forgot our great Nana's last name. All of the water within us fled to refill the ink missing from their birth certificates. If you cannot pinpoint your name on a piece of paper, then you do not exist. So our fountains cracked and withered, its marble fell into our scalps like sharp snow. Our blood was not wet enough to moisten the rubble, so we prayed for rain, but instead received oil. Made do with the scraped intestines of a bronze fruit who sang a song that was the same color as our skin. Yes, coconut oil, yes, shea butter. All of the natural oils. Your first poet, are you ready to say, oh yeah? Oh yeah. Rochelle M Parker has work that appeared in Tupelo Quarterly, Lips Creations Magazine, New Jersey English Journal, and the anthology Poeming Pigeons, Poems About Food. She is a Patricia Dobler Poetry Award 2017 honorable mention and the winner of the Pat Schneider Poetry Contest in 2014. She was awarded fellowships from Tin House, Summer Workshop Poetry, Willow Arts Alliance, and Callaloo Creative Writing at Browne University, and is currently the poetry editor for Peregrine, the Journal for Amherst Writers and Artists. Please welcome to the stage, Rachelle.
Wow. So, I'm going to read something new tonight, and the poem, you should, and something from the book, Ars Poetica. Only a poem. This poem can hold my grandmother's tongue, Her teeth, sensitive to ice cream, drags across my vanilla cone. She purses her lips, causing the whisker on her chin to unfurl. This poem introduces her to my niece, who is out on her own, living the dreams dreamt for her. This poem is the transcript of their meeting on the corner of Cloud 9 and Angel Way. This poem and them whisper through the night. I catch snatches and giggles. They have become sisters, braiding each other's hair and greasing each other's scalps in the parts as their right-on magazines post off Foster Silver's watches. I am in the kitchen making silver dollar pancakes. When they are ready, molasses from the King Poderick bottle covers them to sticky. This poem knows these are my girls, and know my girls know more than they say, and know they pass their wit through a dizzying game of hand claps. Their palms red from the unearthing of copper, the digging for conch shells at the coast, and a candied apple. This poem knows the spoon splashes them both with to make them shine. This poem slips into my pocket and nestles in a handful of buckwheat flour. There I go. So, my poem from the book, Ode to Walt Whitman, The Housing Projects. 13 stories pushed through cracks, capped with smokestacks and, oh, I'm so sorry, y'all. 13 stories pushed through cracks, capped with water tanks and smokestacks, insulated from the big bad world, my dreams and imagination swirled. White concrete walls were a blank slate, held my name up in bright red paint. Enough flights of stairs to fly down, steps taken 2 by 2 until on the ground. Summer, you offered the most fun. Long days, long kisses from the sun, yellow outlines for games with cans, part of a day with no set plans. Maple trees lined our racetrack. The tar, if you fell, showed no slack. Jump rope slaps from telephone wire, no amount of number rocks could tire. Doting on us kids to show your care, the ice cream truck's weight you'd bear. Halls are now dank and dark. Every kind of crime has left its mark. Silver chain links replaced with black bars. Scaffolding began to block the stars. As brick and mortar swelled with tears, panes and panes of glass shed tears. Never daunted by all these things, you still know the heart that sings. Musty jacket, tattered and worn, at attention and blowing your horn. Fiercely, you continue standing guard over little girls in cowboy boots and leotards. Thank you.
Did you hear the ice cream truck go by? Was that your magic? Did you do that? She's like, you know I did. You know I did. Ra Malika Imhotep, rememory. My body soft, fresh milled cotton, a deep brown of dried blood stain. Stumbling into the spots, blood spilled into my internet. Look, upon the train, I'm in Fruitvale. Can you hear the protest of asphalt that no, it ain't made for the mausoleum? In Brooklyn, I follow cousin up dark pink houses stairway, grab my chest, try to catch Akai's last breath. Cousin already at the door, ain't look back or think twice. This, where she lived. Here, I am, blood, blackened girl, all up in other niggas' memories on accident. If I cried every time I stood where somebody colored like mine lost life, I don't think I'd be soft no more. Think I'd dry up. No time for the little joy I find pressed up against a body that ain't dead yet. Just salted fault lines down my face, cracks in the fullness of my lips. And what then will they call me but dirt? Wow, right? When I tell you, you could pick up this book and any poem on any day will make you say, wow, it's a good look. Your next author, Candice Iloh, is a first-generation Nigerian-American writer and teaching artist residing in Brooklyn, New York, whose work has appeared in The Griot, For Harriet, Blavity, and more. She is a recipient of fellowships from VONA, Homeschool via Lambda Literary Fellowship, as well as Rhode Island's Writers Colony Writer-in-Residence alum. She holds an MFA in writing for young people, concentrating in verse from Lesley University, where she completed her forthcoming young adult novel in verse. She is a 2018 High Arts Critical Break Artist Resident recipient, where she debuted her one-woman show, Ada on Stage. Please welcome to the stage, Candice.
Hello. Oh my God, this is overwhelming. All right, so I too am going to read a new poem, and then I'm going to close out with the poem that's in the book. And this new poem is called Shook. This time, they came from just outside my window. This time, the flashing lights don't pass, don't get softer, aren't headed to some distant place down the road this time. I think to look now that the red and blue flash against the panes, reflect off sheer white draped from the glass, separating me from that world outside, not knowing if the boom was car crash or gunshot this time. Just half a block from this building where I lay down only beside myself at night, I scan this apartment for its 3 locks, affixed to the front door for its window guards, for its window locks. I've been trusting for a good 5 years, wonder if there should be a bat and or a knife stored beneath this bed. Alone here, I accuse myself of this fear. Wonder if storing weapons to protect this body would be like asking for it, whatever it is outside, to come find me. Wonder if people buy these things, these bats, these knives, used or new. How many use them? Think this body's still too light for a gun. So light no one knows how to be when I'm heavy. What to do when this body lies limp, sucked dry of all the blood it gives, donating to others. Other people's kids. You know, you saving these kids' lives. They lucky to have you. We need more of you, sis. Thank you for what you do. We need more of you, sis. They lucky to have you. You saving these kids' lives. This body heavy with other people's lives, other people's needs. Stories they tell it, people looking for others who save, knowing by this weight carried by this body only capable of saving itself. These kids doing it themselves. The rest figuring out who they want to save, having to choose too early, learning too soon of sacrifice. More familiar than this body with whatever it is outside that this body now shook by, that this body beginning to understand. That this body always trying to shake like coal from these kids' eyes so they can hold something other than death. See something else to call real. This body feels all of it too much this time. This body can't block the light coming in, going out. This body begging for ways to keep loving, to keep itself, to keep something alive. If you didn't catch it, it's about being scared. So I've been writing a lot of poems about being scared and being a single woman living in New York City. And when stuff happens, becoming more aware of the fact that you're alone and you don't have anybody around you to protect you. And so this poem that I'm closing out with is an erasure poem that I wrote from somebody's Facebook status about a sexual assault that came across the news, and then the news article kind of just disappeared. It seemed like it was a big story, but no one talked about it. So I used his Facebook status to create how it made me feel. And this poem is called Alleged, after Tony Medina on the alleged spring break rape of April 13th, 2015, NewYorkDailyNews.com. This to be women in a culture of hate hard enough, people stood just feet away and taped it with their cell phones. Thank you.
Wow. Sometimes the poems just write themselves, don't they? You just open up your Facebook and there they are. Thank you. Before we bring up your next poet, I'd like to read a poem by Bianca Lynn Spriggs called Big Black Bitch. After Mary Fields, AKA Stagecoach Mary. And the footnote is Mary Fields was born a slave in Tennessee in 1832. She was the first black woman to be employed as a mail carrier in the United States. She stood 6 feet tall and weighed over 200 pounds. She was known for smoking cigars, carrying pistols, drinking whiskey, and getting into the occasional fight with drunken cowboys. Big black bitch. Ain't much a man can call me, I ain't already heard. I stand taller and way more, even the legends say. I pack 2 6-shooters and a loaded 10 gauge, whether I sleep or ride. And when shooting don't work, I pack these 2 fists. I'm black as a nightmare to most of you. I'm black, my boots black, my coaching team black, and don't nobody believe that I say I ain't kept that den of wolves at bay through an entire black night. It was simple. They just needed convincing. I was as bad or worse in all of them. Don't matter whether you a dog, a mule, or a man. When I say move, I mean move. And I don't need no whip, like most of y'all white boys, to get my point across. So what you ain't gonna do is call me out my name when I ain't in the mood. And I ain't never in the mood to be called outside my name. Fastest way to make me act my color, I got this here run to make a reputation to uphold for being on time. And the only thing standing between me and a pint of whiskey and my end of the day cigar is you. And neighbor, that ain't a position I'd recommend. So come on, call me that again, so we can all find out what happens next. Right? If that ain't your auntie, I feel like that's everybody auntie. Everybody knows that woman. You ain't gonna call me out my name, ever. Oh, okay. Your next reader, Nena Angela Mercer. Her play includes Gutta Beautiful, Racing My Girl, Sally, Itigua Meha, Atagua Meiji, A Road and a Prayer, and Gypsy, and The Bully Door. She is developing Mother, Wit, and Waterborne, a trilogy. Nena's writing is published in Black Renaissance Noir, The Killings Review of Arts and Letters, Voices Magazine, Say Her Name Edition, and Continuum, the Journal of African Diaspora Drama, Theater, and Performance. Nena is also a mother, educator, and interdisciplinary performance artist. Please welcome to the stage, Nena Angela Mercer.
Okay, so I'm going to read an excerpt of this piece that I'm so honored I had the opportunity to write. And though I'm a theater person, I didn't rehearse, so you see me looking at my phone, so I'll make sure I don't read for too long. All right, so Root Song for Daughter. Word is, I made my womb safe house for insurgent birds, rebels by bloodline and ready to fly free, peck some heads, one born from flesh. I am mother, not anybody's piece, ottoman, table, toilet. I wear my heart on top my crown, and you, my daughter, are meant to soar. But pray your song a river when you sing it. Let it stretch all the way out over years. Consider the sun's light a road. Touch tree bark, lean close, listen. 1977, DC was still the chocolate city then. I wore my hair in 2 long braids. Me and Mommy wore marigold matching jumpsuits on a runway in a downtown hotel for the Jewels of Anne school fundraiser. My mother sewed hers first, then mine to match. I held her hand tight on the runway in my matching marigold jumpsuit, sewn carefully by her hands. She was fly. Her black mane serious and flipped in the front. Her lips glazed red brick, her open-toe wedge sandals. I watched her for years. By the late 80s, I was covetous of her gold scarab ring with the ruby eyes, her black leather pants and jacket, her fashion fair lipsticks and opium perfume. But there was no hand-holding inside this new becoming. We took an adversary stance. She woke me past midnight, pulling every secret from under my bed and from the furthest corner in my closet until her borrowed belongings were recovered. I learned there would be no secrets in my parents' house. My mother knew my stealth from conception, so that when I lost my virginity, she saw through my crocodile tears and took me to her gynecologist, got me on birth control pills, and told me, I don't need to know when you're doing it, but I need to know that you are protected. She did not want grandbabies anytime soon. She needed to know that I was clear about that. She also needed me to know I should always have my own money, file my own taxes, maintain good credit, and have my own road to walk. She married her college sweetheart at 22 years old and became a mother by the time she was 25. Her world was bound to home and a 9-to-5 while my father traveled to Cameroon, Haiti, Trinidad, Paris, Nigeria, Japan, late night after hours spot, taking risks he would not have taken if he were charged with raising me alone. I admired his wide wings, his flight. I watched my mother, and I was certain I would make a mess if I ever had to match her method. Do remember, pray your road while you walk it. Consider sun's light. Touch river water. Do remember, you, daughter, were conceived in love. I became your mother blasting Biggie in the shower of my basement apartment in Northeast DC. It was my senior year, Howard University, Chocolate City still. It was 1994 and I was 21 years old, 4 years younger than my mother was when she discovered she was pregnant with me. Me and my girls met Luke and Redman on a Potomac riverboat ride that never left the dock. The boat was so packed it was unsafe to sail, but we ain't care. Late night, Snoop and Dre chanted over a booming bass and a game of bones. A box of fresh oranges covered the smell of dank delivered to campus from Cali. We were Freaknik, partying bullshit, the slow crawl and masquerade on Peachtree in Atlanta, and late night chocolate chip cookies eaten straight out the pan, still hot. We were sunglasses and bare legs and jean shorts, gliding through some righteous haze and Roy Ayers. Everybody loves the sunshine. We were head wraps and Timberlands, Dr. Francis Cress Welsing's The ISIS Papers, and drumming circles in Malcolm X Park. Free love meant blue lights in some sparsely furnished basement apartment, too much patchouli, and a late night analyses of conspiracy theories spawned from Behold a Pale Horse. Free love could also mean taking youth from the Shaw neighborhood on weekend field trips, making brown bag lunches in the kitchen of university housing. We studied the variations. Consider darkest night sky, daughter, sing past midnight with window open, make love often, lean close to your lover, live without regret. I became your mother while listening to Biggie in 1994. Let me ask you a question, yo, would you kill for me? Just me and my bitch.
Thank you. Thank you, Nena. All right, y'all take a deep breath in through your nose, hold it, breathe out through your mouth, exhale, excellent. Get that on out. It's a lot of poems. These poets make you feel things. I wanted to read something from the woman who wrote the foreword. And the editors and I agree that she is like the blueprint for like an entire generation of writers. Her name is Patricia Smith. And the name of the poem is What It's Like to Be a Black Girl for Those of You Who Aren't. First of all, it's being 9 years old and feeling like you're not finished, like your edges are wild, like there's everything wrong. It's dropping food, coloring in your eyes to make them blue and suffering their burn in silence. It's popping a bleached white mop head over the kinks of your hair and primming in front of the mirror that denies your reflection. It's finding space between your legs, a disturbance in your chest, and not knowing what to do with the whistles. It's jumping double dutch until your legs pop. It's sweat and Vaseline and bullets. It's growing tall and wearing a lot of white. It's smelling blood in your breakfast. It's learning to say fuck with grace, but learning to fuck without it. It's flame and fists and life according to Motown. It's finally having a man reach out for you, then caving in around his fingers. Patricia Smith, you should look her up. She's a good look. Your next poet and author, this is her last week in America. So this is like her last featured reading. And she's also a really good look. Like, I call her a good egg. She's so good. When you see her, you hug her, you smile, like consensual hugs, of course. And then you just feel like very full and loved. Whitney Greenaway is a Caribbean author whose work deftly dissects societal structure, introducing conversations of pride, classism, and patriarchy to cultures where these injustices are often deemed acceptable. Whitney has performed across North America and the West Indies and has also facilitated workshops using writing as a tool for demystifying shame and hierarchies perpetuated by cultural expectations. She is the author of the chapbook, Reasons I Will Leave My Lover, and her writings have been featured in Pluck. Please welcome to the stage, Whitney Greenaway.
Hi. So I'll read two poems. The first one is for my daughter, whose birthday is a week from Friday. For Milan, 25 and a half hours had already lapsed before I was allowed to see my daughter, before I got a chance to call her by name. I know how I'm used to this, the dark, the waiting, the unknowing, the quiet that is so loud that no one hears me. On the second day, I learned many things. On the first night out of my body, she forgot to breathe 22 times. She would not be given milk for the next 4 days. There were physical body parts that still needed developing. There was new vocabulary like isolate, gavage, Brady, residual, adjusted age, PICC line, colostrum. I didn't ask what any of it meant. I learned everything through context. I live through context, and this would be no different. On the third day, I saw her face for the first time. She was my grandfather 85 years later. I understood the message. She was strong, she would survive, he would live through her. On the fourth day, they taught me how to change her. It wasn't that I'd never changed a baby before, it was the size of her. 940 grams of mustard seed. I was taught a new kind of delicate, a new kind of faith. On the seventh day, I was released from the hospital without her, without ever having held her, with documents about all the medication I had to take, with a video I had to watch about how not to shake the baby I couldn't take home with me. On the eighth day, I held her for the first time. Inside my shirt, skin to skin, 6 wires trailing behind her. They said this would make her stronger. She would remember this body, this heartbeat, but not the fear, not the anxiety, never the loneliness. On the 11th day, I recorded my voice in poems and songs and prayers so she could listen while I was away. On the 11th day, she pooped for the first time. Look how we were already learning to let things go together. On the 12th day, she cried out for food. It made me think of empty, of the way I never let hunger sit long enough in my belly to give it a name or a home. On the 20th day, they found a heart murmur, said that maybe a valve didn't close properly. I tried to tell them that it was her inheritance, that my side of the family have hearts that love a little harder, so they beat a little extra and hurt a little longer. I was already wishing she had chosen her father's heart instead. On the 23rd day, she wore clothes for the first time. Preemie, doll-sized. They swam on her, but it was my first glimpse at normalcy. On the 36th day, I took home her first bag of laundry. I rode the M15 bus feeling like a conch shell, a heavy spiral keeping the softest parts unseen. I know if I had let anyone put their mouth to me, if I had allowed any other breath than mine inside, there would have been a hollowed sound of longing. On the 37th day, she pulled out her feeding tube. On the 37th day, I breastfed her for the first time. On the 37th day, I first felt like her mother because she needed me for something. On the 42nd day, I gave her a bath under the careful watch of a nurse, washed and combed her hair and sang like we were not in the hospital, like we were the only ones alive, like it was normal for her to be this tiny, like panic wasn't dancing under my flesh, a raw stitching waiting for a snag. I sang a patois song I didn't even know I remembered. I didn't know who I was then. I'm not sure I know who I am now, except for a whirl of memories. For 49 nights, I slept on my back with a small brown teddy bear on my chest, a meager way to teach my body to be still, to prepare for her, to be ready. And on the 50th day, when she weighed 4 pounds and 3 ounces, when it was still 5 weeks until her due date, I took Milan home. And she'll be 3, so she's fine. There is the man I love, and there is the man who loves me, and there is the man I love because he loves me. There is the man I took the morning after pill for, and there is the man whose baby I kept, and there is the man whose baby I let go. There is the man born on the cusp of summer, and there is the man whose heart was made for a fall or 6. There is the man who holds my hand on the train, and there is the man who won't even sit next to me there. There is the man I wish was my father, and there is the man who talks to me like he is, and there is the man who, when I was 16, invited me into his and my mother's bedroom, and there is the man who taught me to forgive it. There is the man who forgot my name, and there is the man who doesn't know I have one. There is the man who takes my picture, and there is the man who, when I take a pretty picture, says nothing. And there is the man who says I only take pretty pictures. And there is the man who doesn't believe that. There is the man who has a wife. And there is the man who had a wife. And there is the man who is getting married. And there is the man who says bride is such a delicate word and I am anything but delicate. And there is the man who says he's okay with being my husband, which is not the same as saying that he wants to be. There is the man who tells me the way I need is unhealthy, without addressing that the way he takes is also to my detriment. There is the man who has never taken me out, and there is the man who has never eaten me out, and there is the man who is always filling me in. There is the man who asks me to keep his secrets, and there is the man who has made me a public secret, and what is more skillful than that? There is the man who says he loves my size, and there is the man who doesn't mention it, and I find it hard to trust him, because how dare he treat me like how much space I take up in the bed has nothing to do with our relationship. There is the man I feed Sandcoach, and there is the man I feed green smoothies, and there is the man I feed lies. There is the man who goes to church, and there is the man who doesn't believe in God, and there is the man who believes in me. There is the man whose mother still asks for me, and there is the man whose father is dead. And there is the man who tells me that family is a foreign country and who wants to stand in line for a visa you may not get approved for anyway. There is the man who says he will never forget me, as if that is some kind of prize to be chosen only to exist in memory. There is the man who says he will always love me, and that is still only a temporary comfort. And there is the man who says he will never leave, and there is no man who has kept his promise. Thank you.
I heard the wows, okay. What? The worst part of that poem is, I think we all have some of them, we're like, yep, motherfucker, yep. That eating out portion got y'all a little rise step, like, me too, girl. Leave his ass. The end, that's my poem, Leave. I got you. All right, our last reader coming up. Before I bring her up, I'd like to share one more poem from a poet. Diamond Sharp, Purgatory Room. It's me, Sandra and Rakia in the back of the Purgatory Room. I snuck in a bag of Vintner's crunchy curls, and now our fingertips are covered in a dusty film of red. Rakia say she don't remember the last time she shot the shit like this. Everything is fuzzy, and her ears still ring from the buckshot. Sandra say this is the first fun she's had in this place. Word. And your final reader, before we get to our Q&A, so think of some good questions, and we could talk about process and, muse. Aracelis Girmay is the author of the collage-based book, Changing, and the poetry collections Teeth, Kingdom and Amalia, and The Black Mariah. She has received fellowships from the NEA and from Cave Canem, Jerome, and Whiting Foundations. Aracelis is on the faculty of Hampshire College's School for Interdisciplinary Arts. She lives in Brooklyn with her family. Welcome to the stage, Aracelis.
Wow. Oh my God. I feel like I turned to Candice. I was like, I think I'm just dissolving. Thank you all. And enormous thanks to Jamila, Idrissa, and Mahogany. The introductions that you each wrote are so gorgeous, along with Patricia Smith. But I was like, can I just read these? But I'm not going to, for the sake of time. But I'm going to read this poem by Akari Talley, Homage to My Breasts, after Lucille Clifton, and then 2 short poems of mine. Homage to my breasts. These breasts are no longer stargazers. Even alert, they can't look a man in the eye. They sighed milk for 2 girl children who grew round and learned the alphabet on pearls of Mamadou. These breasts became bread, then lowered their dough heads, watched the children crawl and walk. These breasts erased memory of tongues craving different food. 2 bowls of fire cupped in a hungry man's hands. Akari. So I was just on the playground before I came here with my 2 little ones. So I'm going to read this poem that's in the anthology, Sister Was the Wolf, and then this poem, which is an ode to my placenta, the last one. Sister was the wolf, and could cross easily through the mountain dark to den, keen and quivered with the muscular siege of slit, purse, purple with hours, purse, purple with birth work, her sight both inward and outward lit on what small sparkle of pyrite in the silt or the thick smell of her own wilderness opening, shit and hair and blood. Each little birth, an astonishment of form inside its own tiny veil, licked toward the air of this other side. Live. Then that sound from the hospital's infant table. After what seemed like years of silence, a mew, which held inside it all the voices of this dream and other animals trying to begin. Thank you. When placenta, ode to the placenta. I just remember leaving the placenta being wheeled out after my daughter was born and feeling so guilty that I just left it there. Placenta shed, my lichen, my book, my organ, my slop, your cake, my slab, our moss and I, and sack of meat on which the baby fed from me, who was not me, then rode away inside her own horses, lovingly was shooed, my garden, nest, that realm, my stray and matted hair, your gut and veils, your hoodmo, room of minerals and weight, my flea and struggle, table, my splay at which we met. In darkness, though I left you there, my sorry, desiccated by hospital light. Grandmother, my dog, following our child out, though you knew the air would kill. Elder, my elder, but also the baby and baby twin, her mother, her me, her meadow of wild flowers who, when I had no hands, no mind, took care of her and made her live. Thank you.
Thank you, Ada. So I'm going to share my poem, and then we're going to have all the artists come back and we're going to sit and talk with y'all a bit. Is that okay? I mean, you don't really have a choice. We're going to do this shit anyway. Just trying to be nice and shit and keep you involved, but it's what it is. Yo, I had the weirdest day, y'all. I just lost my phone about an hour and 15 minutes ago, and someone picked it up. They're like, no. So I have no idea how this is gonna come out. I might start crying. Just know it's not real. Does that make sense? I'm just emotional. It's like not a thing. Do you know what I'm saying? I just can't articulate it right now, but it's fine. Everybody's gonna be good. I'm gonna find some tequila after this. I have insurance. See, I'm like, life is good. It's fine. It's just like difficult. In this moment, I keep reaching for my shit to take pictures of people, and I'm like, I want to tweet a line. I can't do nothing. Can't have nothing. Then I lost a page of my poem. I know, I'm sorry. Okay. And I thought because I'm so angry, this would be the perfect one to pour it into. The Huffington Post asked a couple of poets to respond with like a poem title in response to like what the year 2017 would look like or sounds like. And this ended up being a 3-page situation. So if 2017 was a poem title, 1, when they turn bodegas into boutique grocery stores. When they bounce cops up the block like this hipster protection program won't turn back Lefrak into Harlem, turn back Harlem into Chirac, turn back Bed-Stuy into Brownsville, turn Brownsville back into the Bronx, back into Gaza, back. You will taste this strange and bitter American history, where the mom and pop work more hours than the governor, where the pesticides overflow our sewer systems, float our neighborhoods until food deserts, one way in, one way out. Tell me this gentrification be for my own good. Tell me this housing project keep us warfare ready. Tell me Biggie died for our sins, and I'll show you a Brooklyn stoop with a baby's name etched in chalk, a hashtag ghost, gone already, a price tag on his sister's face. She's been missing since Sunday, where chopper lights paint concrete, a trail of breadcrumbs. The haunting finds its way back to our homes. 1, the Electoral College is a lullaby designed to put us back to sleep. 1, the ocean is weeping, a righteous rage. She got questions for the living. And what about the sweetheart who would grow to love Tamir Rice, Mike Browne, Corinne Gaines, Akai Gurley? What about they mama singing the name before each breakfast? Or the church praying for the redemption, Bibles raised in the air? What about they almost children? How about they daddy smile? What about they name make them so easy to turn to ash? How we ghosting black boys for the toys we gift them? 1, on a Monday, a white body told my black body it ain't earned no apology for the bloodshed. For the nights when my skin grows so cold, I know I must be inches from death for each death. Hand delivered to me this silence, this certain dismissal, this post-racial reality show, this Confederate hug, and don't it bloom? Don't it bloom like a mushroom sky? What about the blues? Why I cry like hell? Why it hell like America so long? 1, yo, America, what you know about Noose Ready? What you know about chalk lines and double barrels? What you know about a murder weapon or a loose cigarette or a baby sleeping on the couch? What you know about the flag? The truck that followed me down a lonely road in Georgia, the names that I rolled off my tongue in prayer: Saint Sojourner, Saint Harriet, Saint Rakia, Saint Sandra, bring me home. Or leave me steady, gun aimed and cocked ready, con artist turned 45th resident of the White House, while the 44th president is lifted off the grounds by his shadow with his black wife. She truth slayer all day, she cheekbone slay, while the media aim and shot at a presidential legacy until weed smoke and a concert makes us remember black people ain't never been human here. Ain't we beautiful? Those that survived the purging, those that spill by display glorious from a hateful, hateful song this swing, sweet, sweet, low spiritual ain't never been inclusive. What you know about Larynx and Baton? How you sing him crow in the key of Emmett Till? What fever fussed you awake? Who else got cop anxiety? Call it what it is. Call it post-traumatic slave syndrome. Call it land tax until homelessness. Call it abortion turned sterilization. Ain't no lie. Like the one against our stillborn children. Ain't no lie. Like the many that shaped our babies into mute cattle. Prison industrial complex reverberates in the tune of elementary. Fourth graders are their easiest targets. One, a math problem. If one woman got 7 Mac 11s and 2 heaters for the Beamer, how many Congress seats will the NRA lose? How many votes will it take for a sexual predator to lift the White House off her feet? One, I am practicing this aim, this tongue a shoestring strafe. My tongue say melt the walls of Guantanamo. Yassine Bey, coming home in what we thought it would be. Ain't no solace in Mecca. Even Spike Lee left Brooklyn. Here, a slumlord will leave my front steps full of rat piss and Airbnb my neighbor's apartment for half my take-home pay. Unhinge the city of Rikers, bring back the Reapers, give them the loot and the stoop. Yeah, they're good at killing, but so was Jefferson. I mean Washington. I mean CIA. I mean COINTELPRO. I mean they mimic your grace. I mean, it's 2017, America, a new year, and your facelift be botched. Wow. Thank you. And let's welcome all of our authors. Just bring your chair up. And so if you, oh, cool. Oh, I just talked. Oh, and give it up for Peter. He got it. He's gonna hold us down. You see, black women used to doing it for ourselves. We just grabbing this shit, but it's gonna make it happen. Thank you, sir. Any questions? Do we need this microphone? I know that there's some sort of archiving position thing happening. Oh, there's a microphone. If you have a question for the authors, how the book is laid out.
Just raise your hand. I will bring you the mic. I know it's hard to be the first one, but.
Who did the cover art?
This is Brianna MacArthur from Trinidad and Tobago, and she is an amazing, amazing artist. She also did E-Viewing's Electric Arches, as well as, there was one more book that came out, Jackie Germain from Button Poetry has a book with her artwork as well. She's really amazing. You can find her online, MacBrii, I think. Thank you for asking. She did good.
Hi.
Hi.
I'm Z.
Hi, Z.
So I'm releasing my first book of poetry, and as the days become closer, I'm getting more nervous, and I feel like I should be excited. So I wanted to know, how do you release your work without being afraid of judgment or about what other people think? So.
Can you ask her, what's your book's name? What's the book title? How do we find it?
It's called The Gemini, and I'm having a book signing at the Bronx Museum on June 16th.
Yes.
Oh. You want to answer?
I can say something, but I want to hear other people. Your question was how do you release a book?
Like without fear of judgment, just being proud of what you release, not worrying about what other people think.
Congratulations. And I imagine you probably know everything I'm going to say. But I'll say it's a big moment, and I feel like it's important for me to remember that even when a poem feels done, I'm a person in progress. This is my process. This is where I've come to now. This is my effort, my shining flailing effort. And that's like the most beautiful thing we can expect of each other. And also that as somebody who reads, that we need every single voice. I think of June Jordan all the time talking about how we need, like, resist at every turn the one star. Like, we need all of our Black genius, she says. And so putting your voice out into the world, it will sustain us. So that doesn't really get rid of the other problems, but it's like, it must be. What do you guys think? Somebody ask.
I don't even know that I should be answering this. I mostly write work for live performance. Much of what I do is ephemeral, meaning it's up there and then it's gone, but in some ways I think that can make it's just a very different experience. But what I'll say is that I try to remember to just have a good time. Like, I just had a show that I did this past weekend, and I presented new work, and it was the most unique out of all of the pieces that were shared. And I was just having so much fun, as opposed to making it so very precious. Not saying that we aren't precious and gifted and divine, but also letting things have air and room to breathe, and just enjoying the beautiful moment of releasing it, knowing that there's more to come. So.
Thank you. Any other questions? Go for it.
Hi.
Hi.
Hello. So I love the first BreakBeat Poets anthology, and I was wondering if you could talk a little bit about you and the other editors' decision, or what, just kind of the process behind deciding to do a Black women-specific anthology.
So thank you. I was visiting Chicago, young Chicago authors, and the editors are the founders of YCA and purveyors there. And I was doing a workshop for the young girls, and I did a poem called Black Girl Magic, and the response was so visceral. And it was brand new. I wrote it just for those girls, and the response was so crazy that I just said in passing, like, yo, that was amazing. Like, we need to do the next anthology for Black girls. And then, like, we just like went to have dinner. And maybe 3 months, maybe 2, he emailed me and said, okay, let's do that anthology. And I was like, oh, I was joking, but for real, right? So, like, which is to say, we have these amazing ideas all the time, and we just throw them against the wall and see what sticks. And we were lucky to have someone, Kevin Coble, who knows, like, the importance of other voices being in these spaces and sharing the platform. He shared his platform, and he said, whatever you want to do, just go for it. So I said, first thing, we're gonna have like only women editors, which was fine. And it was really cool because he's like, yeah, I have some women I could, introduce you to. I said, no thanks. Appreciate you, we good. But we have these women editors that are gonna do our thing. And we really we took it into our homes, and we curated this for about 2 years. And we sent emails to people we knew, and some people just like ended up missing the deadline. And you know how you keep dragging along, but we just had to make sure that we got the work out because we felt like the need for it was so real. It was in the wake of Rekia Boyd and Sandra Bland, and it was right before Erica Garner's passing. So it was very much one of those moments where we were like, we need a blueprint for just loving ourselves, just a moment where we find all this text from all different voices from all different regions and walks of life, for us just to celebrate Black girls and their magic, and what does that mean, and how many different bodies can a Black girl have, because we have writers from all walks of life. We have, you just look, it's amazing. And not because I was the editor, but because it is. I hope that helps.
Any other questions?
One in the back.
Hello.
Hi.
I have a question based on what you just said. You said that there were a couple of people that didn't make it. And I'm a school librarian. My job is, I have students that come every day, like, is there any new poetry? Could everybody maybe recommend a couple poets, especially Black women that weren't in this book that I can find?
Black women that weren't in this book. Falou is one of my favorite poets and my best friend, and she missed the deadline too. You know what I mean? Like, it just happens. It happens. But literally, she is, an American prophet.
I can say somebody who's not living, who's not in it. Okay, two. Gwendolyn Brooks and June Jordan. That's right. And there's a Gwendolyn Brooks. I might use mine in a second. Another one.
I'm just gonna say my favorite poet, which is Lucille Clifton. Did nobody put her in the book? She's.
See,
It's so many that I would recommend that are already in the book. It's my favorite book right now because of that. So I can't think of anybody else right now.
Anyone that you're reading or that you know, contemporaries that maybe you can tell?
They don't have to be Black.
That's one.
Ariel John from Trinidad and Tobago. Cheryl Boyce Taylor. Cheryl Boyce Taylor.
Camila's not in there. She's not. Camila Aisha Moon. I mean, all of her.
I like how that was a trick question for us.
Yeah, so many people.
Yeah, Nikki Black from California. She has a couple of amazing books that she put out herself. Jahaz Zanabu, Tamra Blue, all amazing authors and mothers. Thank you for that question. We'll have a running list. Yes, sir.
All right, well, first of all, well done. I really enjoyed hearing from all of you. My question is about, it's really powerful hearing you read. It's especially powerful when you go off book. And my question is, how long does it take for you to internalize your pieces, and how long do they stay with you?
I believe that may have taken me maybe 2 weeks. And it was something that I had to stop and visualize and put myself in that space of that young girl that was growing up in the Walt Whitman projects. And it's still with me most times. I try to say it every now and again. It's been inspiration, actually, because this is like an amazing, inspiring chance for me to be in this book. So I wanted to really be part of the group. So I wanted to make sure I went off book.
So for me, I think it depends on the piece, on how long it'll take. Because I feel like I wrote this a year ago, maybe, and I feel like just got it down. And it usually depends on how personal it is or how sensitive I am towards what I'm writing. But once I memorize it, that's it. I think it never leaves. Especially if it's about me and my life, it doesn't leave.
Yeah, but you see, I actually have a lot of trouble memorizing my work. So my one-woman show, all of it was voiceover, so I didn't have to remember it. So yeah, I actually made the decision to stop trying to memorize my work years ago so that I could take the pressure off of performance. I wanted to focus on creation. And for me personally, I cannot focus on both at the same time. And so that's even, I'm a teaching artist. That's even something that I tell students is not to focus on memorization, but to focus on the craft itself first. And then if they want to go off book, there's all these techniques. And if I wanted to, I could, but me personally, I don't like for any poet to feel like it's better to memorize. It's something you can do, but it's extra in my opinion.
I'm still memorizing mine as well. This, obviously, 2017 was a poem title, was last year. Almost 2, and I kept writing to it. But if I perform it enough, there are just moments that I have down, and I'll just like visually check in. But about, I don't know, I'm getting much older, friends, and times is hard. You understand? Eat your vitamins.
We got tape for maybe one last question.
One last question. It's gotta be good. It could be about anything though.
No pressure.
Yes.
I guess like I used to kind of consider myself a writer, but like this is like a question more about practice. Like when you have like so many things that are just like tearing you down in like capitalism, how do you like, you know, recommit to the work of like creativity and like making sure you like prioritize yourself so that you are writing like on a regular basis, whatever that looks like for you?
Personally, I agree with everything you said. I think my writing is an act of the survival, right? It is the it is the counterintelligence to the capitalism. It is me responding to them trying to break me down, because I recognize that we carry a lot of those things without really understanding that it's on us, that it's maybe until you get a massage or until maybe someone says you look nice and you say, no, I don't. Like there's things that we just internalize, but we don't realize that we've been carrying it all of our lives until I write it out. For me, I have to write it out so that I can see it, so that I can name it and articulate it. Otherwise, I really think I'm bugging. Like, yo, America got us fucked up. Let's talk about that. Like it is capitalism. The idea that I'm on Instagram and I'm like, oh, she's fly, and then something pops up that I should buy, like, you know, flat tummy tea or whatever. The flat tummy tea lollipop? That's bananas. But I considered it, you know, I was like, you right. I do need to get rid of my kangaroo pouch, and this thing that's gonna rot my teeth out might get me skinny too. That's a great idea. So I am constantly writing because I know that the messages are subliminal and dangerous. And that's the only way that I can live personally. You want in?
Capitalism and writing, yeah. They're almost like oil and water, and in some ways, but not. I will say that I have been a mother for 23 years. My daughters are right back there, Raisa and Aya. And I mention that because I always like to take it to the real. I've had to slow my pace as a single mother with 2 daughters and focus on teaching in order to maintain and pay bills, and sometimes teach at multiple institutions simultaneously while also working as a teaching artist and taking additional gigs. That's the truth. It has come close to breaking me often. Sometimes I have probably been broken and I've been put back together, right? Through my spiritual work, through my family, through my daughter's encouragement. So I just want to take it to the real, because yes, I keep pushing and I keep writing and I dance and I do dramaturgical work. I do all kinds of things, right? To keep this moving. And it is not easy, but I don't have a choice in the sense that this is what I'm called to do. I know that I have something very urgent to express and to share. But I just want to, take it to that level, because I know that my path as an artist has been severely challenged in some ways by capitalism and by having to kind of navigate a system where education and young people are devalued. So those of us who are dedicated to serving them and supporting them and nurturing them are also devalued. It's real and it hurts, So, but we keep getting up.
I feel like this is like the biggest struggle that I experience every single day. I got up like 2 hours early this morning in order to help myself meet a deadline. And I started doing things like that recently when I realized I'm really sad when I don't do my thing. Like this is my thing, and everybody around me is doing their thing. And if I don't find some type of way to do my thing, whatever systems and powers that be are winning. And so I just don't want to feel like shit. So I have to figure out how to not feel that way. And it doesn't have to, I'm learning it doesn't have to be like 3-hour blocks of time. It doesn't have to be a whole day. I could say I'm gonna write 30 minutes today at some point. I don't know when it's gonna happen, but for 30 minutes, I get to have this thing. And so I think that, I think it's interesting when people say, oh, I used to be a writer. I feel like you still are, like if it's something that you're interested in, even if you're not getting paid from it or it's not like your main job, like if it is your skill, like even if you haven't been active in years, I feel like it's still what you are, and you have to find a way to do your thing because it's really important to you, it sounds like to me. So I mean, the older I get, the more I realize like there's all these things that we have to do, and capitalism, but like, I just feel like you're not living life if you don't like carve out a space to do the thing that is yours.
I would add that I remember being on the subway, I don't know, it was a couple years ago. I'm sure you guys have seen the ad, it was like instant oatmeal, like more instant than the instant. And I was like, first I was just reading the words, and then I was like, instant oatmeal, like, why do I need instant oatmeal? But like the rush, and I'm new to having kids, but I'm not new to working like 6 days a week and hustling from here to there, especially in New York, the engine. And there's this, you can just be running, like literally running all the time. And I feel like finding a place to slow down and to, not about publishing, about thinking about audience even yet, but just like to bring my questions and to imagine something different is soul work. It's survival. It's there are a few pockets that I can create to make it happen, but it must, otherwise somebody else's imagination is ruling my every step and my pace, and so I find it critical to find the ways. What do you?
So writing is actually how I problem solve. I'm a very visual person, so I think once I realize if I write something down, I don't feel as overwhelmed with whatever it is I'm thinking, because we have a million thoughts a day. Like that's a given. And things come up, problems, issues, concerns that you have. So like Aracelis was just saying, it doesn't have to be like about publishing or anything like that, but just to get it out and on the page. And it makes room for new thoughts, and it makes room for new angles for you to look at what you've already written. So even if it's like riding the train, I used to write a lot, just riding the subway. I had like a 40-minute commute to work. I just quit my job on Friday. So I would do a lot of either reading, because that's another thing too. I feel like you need reading to fuel your writing, even though it's only obviously your thoughts, but that you want to write, but it might be something that is impacted by something that you read, and it's impossible for you to write without reading. So I would either read or write on the subway, and I would do that every day. It can be something in your phone. I keep a journal, and that helps. So I've kept a journal since I was 13, but poems and stuff I've started writing in the notes app on my phone. So it doesn't have to be like I have to sit down like in a quiet corner and write for, like she was saying, 3 hours a day. But even if you just take 5 minutes and it's a question that pops in your head, write it down, and you can revisit it later and you'd be surprised what comes from that. So.
And for me, sometimes I start a poem in the morning, and then all day I'm carrying it around. And then you can type it out and you get back to it, because it is pretty tough to come home after work or any other responsibilities that you have, and you feel like it's a luxury to sit down and write. But it's not. Like everyone up here said, there's something that you feel you have to do. If it's inside there, it's better to get it out sooner than later.
And also finding fellowship, I think, is really important. I like what you said about just thinking about the writing, the soul's work. Sometimes we think, because I'm not sitting down and writing a thing, when I go to a residency and they're like, you have a month to live in this house. And I'm like, I have to write something. And they were like, no, just live. That's writing too. So you living is like the incubation of your ideas. Fellowship is a place for you to start getting it out and have other people, critique and give you a different objective about what you're writing. But yeah, come back. Cool. Thank y'all so much for being here, for staying. If you have your book already, could you hold it up so we can get a picture? Can you take a picture? I don't have the phone. I'm so sad. Oh, it looks so pretty. Oh, you guys are gorgeous. Yes. Isn't that cute?
Look at you. See there? Always brainstorming.
Okay. Thank y'all so much.
Thanks
We'll
all
be
for
here
your
signing
questions, and
books.
thank you so much to our panelists tonight. Let's keep it going for them.